today's episode, I am delighted to be joined by Francisco Bram, the recently appointed VP of Product Marketing, Brand, and Business Development at Albertsons Companies. He has 3 years under his belt from Uber and a further 10 at Siemens, where he was a senior director of their global product marketing teams. Welcome to the show, Francisco.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I am super excited about our conversation today because I know you just have a wealth of experience from all these different experiences that you've done over the past, 10 to 15 years. So really excited to have you on the show. But why don't we kick it off with hearing your background and a little bit about your story to how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I currently lead marketing and business development for Albertsons Companies, which is a $79 billion company. They're a large grocery retailer in the US with a lot of different brands across the country. So if you're in California, you probably know Safeway or Vons or Pavilions. If you're in Texas, you probably know Tom Tom's. So it's a house of brands. So it brings in its own set of opportunities as well as challenges, given that you have to cater to brands that feel local and it feel like it is part of the local marketing environment. But prior to joining Albertsons, I was with Uber, where I also helped lead and launch several different businesses like Uber Health, Uber Eats for merchants, as well as delivery. And prior to Uber, I was with Siemens, another conglomerate company for about, I would say 10 years in total, in various different functions. I'm originally from Portugal, but I've lived across different countries such as Russia, England, Spain, Germany, and for the last 14 years, I've been in the US. So that's a little bit about my background. And now you know why I have a little bit of an accent. That's because I'm from Portugal.
I actually guessed it already because my last name is Portuguese, but I'm from India. So we've got a little mix between like the Portuguese and Indian thing. So I heard the accent. I said, yeah, he's definitely Portuguese, which is awesome. So that's really interesting. And I know you also, aside from these huge conglomerates that you've worked with before, I know you've also worked a little bit on the startup side. I guess also Uber wouldn't be considered a startup at that time, but other experiences that you've had. What do you find are the differences between those, like building those companies up from the smaller and all the way up to like Siemens, where it's huge? Any differences there?
Yeah. It's almost like if you're a musician, you're conducting an orchestra versus leading a jazz band. When you're part of a large company, you really have a lot of different specialties. You're a very large team normally built out. And so you try to coordinate with all these different expertise in making sure that they're all singing to the same tune or playing to the same tune. So you have like a really sounding tone of voice and brand and personality that comes across. When you are in a startup or you're working with startups, there's not a lot of resources available. So everyone has to roll up their sleeves and produce essentially good marketing. And so it's almost like jazz, where you really go in, just sometimes 3 people, and they produce sounds together in harmony. They try to sort of improvise and be very quick to adapt to the audience and react to the audience. So that's essentially how I feel about working between the two companies. Now, both companies, startups or corporations, they all share the same common denominator, which is serving the customer and being able to sort of address the customer needs, pain points, and be able to sort of produce marketing that connects at an emotional level with the audience. It's just the way you go about doing it. It's very different if you have a lot of resources and if you're a more established company with a lot of processes versus a very nascent company who's just trying to get their voice out there, and therefore they're more nimble and adaptable.
Yeah, I really like how you put that because it's interesting. And obviously with the topic that we're discussing today, all about retention and the customer experience and focus, it's so true. It's not that the bigger companies want that and the smaller companies don't. It's just the approach is different. And so what's really interesting is that the people listening to this podcast are a range of Shopify owners, business owners, marketeers, different people of different size companies that would be listening to this. And for me, it's really important that they get this actionable advice from someone like yourself, because you've seen the small, you've seen the big, you see all the different sizes. And one topic that I really want to jump into is one thing that is, again, similar between anywhere from a very small company all the way up to a huge conglomerate is how you actually gain customers. So I want to dig into this because it's a really important topic and I know you have a lot of insight around it. So maybe just kind of starting off to dig into this, when a company is looking for new customers, what do you think new customers want and how do you even go about identifying that?
Yeah, I think it's important to really always, whether you're the marketing leader or you're a product marketing manager, that you feel like it's your responsibility to represent the customer internally. So you're the voice of customer. And that means you really want to identify all the different ways you can engage with customers. And there's multiple ways you can do that. You can run surveys, which is a very typical traditional way of doing it. You can build a panel. You can look at a cohort of customers that already shop with you, or if they don't shop with you, they shop at a competitor, but they have similar characteristics to those customers who would potentially shop with you. And you want to build a panel, and you want to build a panel that you frequently engage with, almost like an advisory panel. When you go to them frequently to test ideas, not just marketing ideas, but also product UX. So it's the same panel that you co-create with your marketing, your narrative, your value proposition. You also want to pay close attention to the existing customer base. What feedback do they have? Look at the NPS scores, look at commentary, leverage all of that to extract insights. And then you also want to pay close attention to sentiment. And at times you would have to bring in an external partner that has the capabilities to analyze how are people referencing your brand in social media? How is your brand being tied to specific cultural themes? All of this really helps you to paint the picture of the way your brand is perceived, the way customers relate to your products or to your competitor products. And then you can start to build out sort of what we call a journey map, the thinking through what are customers feeling, thinking, deciding, pre, during, and post interacting with your brand. When you do this, you really start to become very customer-centric, customer-focused, and you lead your meetings with customer anecdotes. You start to always question either product or sales or even marketing decisions. Is this in the best interest of the customer? You start to create a culture that really is customer first and customer backed.
I like that a lot. And it's very methodical in how you go about it, which is helpful because sometimes it can be hard trying to figure out, like, let's say you get to a certain point and then you're trying to find, how do we find these new customers or how do we go to the next part? And I really like what you said about sentiment, because obviously the best feedback about the company, whether big or small, is the feeling that the customers have about the company and how they position that in their own minds and talk about it in the market. So I'm curious, from your point of view, we're talking a little bit more about getting new customers and being able to grow the customer base within those 6 months. What would you say are some insights that you can take from your existing customer base, and how does that work with the balance of retention and acquisition? Because we know those things are interdependent, not just separate silos of a business.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of what we did for the last 12 months. We actually created a panel and we spoke to more than 10,000 customers over a period of 12 months. And the idea here was, we know that customers on average shop about different 5 grocery brands. It tends to be about convenience. It tends to be about price or specific product selection that only a specific brand has. And so we wanted to reduce the amount of trips to other brands that the customers who shop with us make. So if you frequently come to our store, but at the same time, once in a while you go to other stores, how can we increase share of wallet in reducing the amount of trips you take somewhere else? And we started talking to customers about what really matters to them. And we very quickly learned that there was a common thread among a variety of different ethnic and demographic groups, which was, we look at our grocery store as a partner in helping us understand what products are good for me and for my household. So they care a lot about well-being. Now, well-being wasn't quite well defined. For many of them, well-being was about community. For other people, well-being was about health. Other people was about just mental and just feeling positive about the world that they engage with. And so we wanted to build something that connected with this audience, with our customers, and really sort of offered them opportunities to improve their well-being, whether it is mental health, physical activity, nutrition, or just in general positivity. And so we've started to gather all these insights that well-being is deeply personal. You can't go one size fits all, because if you try to meet someone else's standards, you're already destined to fail. That's exactly what they were telling us. And so we started crafting a brand around it, and we came up with Sincerely Health, which is this platform that is completely free and allows you to essentially identify opportunities to live, eat, and feel better. I'll give you an example. Francisco is, let's say, trying to pursue a vegan diet, and he's also trying to manage cholesterol. Can we build a platform that allows you to identify products that support you on your vegan journey, but at the same time are low on, for example, saturated fats, which helps to lower cholesterol? And so that's what we built. We can set goals, like I want to walk 10,000 steps more. And by setting that goal, we'll give you points. And then if you accomplish that goal, we'll give you more points. And if you get the device to track your steps, we give you more points. And essentially, we built this entire reward system that is incentivizing people to make the right choices at the point of purchase. And we have millions of customers using the platform today. It's been very successful. Sincerely Health is something that really helped me understand nutritional labels, which I couldn't quite decipher before, because now I can tell what products really support my overall goals and are peanut allergy free or support my peanut allergy needs, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one example of like listening to customers, trying to help them navigate the uncertainty of high inflation, of, one day you hear that wine is good for your heart health and the other day it's bad for your, what is really good for you. So we heard them, we built this platform, we took money away from advertising dollars into incentivizing and rewarding customers for leading a healthier life. And it's sort of paying off because customers are shopping with us more frequently. The average basket sizes have increased,
Wow.
and we're seeing retention also.
That is so cool, especially because even with something like a loyalty or a rewards program, you would assume that you're typically incentivizing on the current actions, like more purchases or campaigns or things like that, which are also still powerful, but you were trying to find something that really moved the dial. That actually just came up with so many ideas in my mind for how like different businesses can use things like that. But I'm curious, even from that example, so now you've obviously got that project, it's done really well, you've got a whole new set of customer data. What kind of data points do you get from that project itself that is going to help you move forward in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, we keep a very close feedback loop with our customers. And we launched, we review every week our NPS, we review customer feedback, and we are iterating and updating our platform. Now, when we launched the platform, we wanted to just make sure that we are addressing the core needs. But of course, there's always things you need to improve. The UX experience, as we keep launching new features, it becomes almost like an amalgamation of features versus a seamless journey. So we identified opportunities to improve that as well. We wanted to be able to launch quickly because we knew that we can't wait until every feature is available and it's perfect, because then you're probably too late. So we wanted to launch quickly and constantly get feedback and iterate. So the feedback we're getting is what's informing our roadmap, but also specific behavior that we are noticing in our platform. We know that, for example, we're going through this very massive market trend around weight loss, with a lot of customers taking GLP-1 medication to help curb their hunger and hence allow them to lose weight. But those drugs have been around in the market for a while for people who actually have diabetes. So we're noticing that people who have diabetes and use these particular pharmaceuticals behave somewhat differently than those who are just looking for weight loss. So how can we enhance the platform to help customers who are, for example, embarking these journeys, to let them know what products they should probably be considered taking? As a food provider, can we help customers better navigate what foods they should be incorporating into their diet as they sort of embark on this weight loss journey? So these are things that we are constantly
Super interesting.
Learning from our customers, identifying those behaviors, and using that to inform our future work.
Yeah. And actually, it makes me think, because there's so much that goes into that insight, right? Especially the example that you gave about people are doing it for the diabetes or for weight loss, and understanding the difference of the why behind their purchasing and how you can cater to that, build for that, and make it personalized to each and every one of them. I'm curious, just from your point of view and being in all these different companies, not just the current one right now, but let's say you are advising someone who runs a small to medium-sized company and they're trying to think through these things that you've just explained. What are some questions you would tell them to ask themselves to assess what their current I guess, not operations, sorry, but I guess their current initiatives, or based on this experience that you've now had, what are some questions you would pose to them to ask within their companies or for themselves as they think about this? Because those kinds of insights are really incredible, and it's not easy to come by. So I'm curious, like, what kind of questions come to your mind, even maybe as you were going through that experience yourself?
Yeah, I think the first question you need to ask is, do I understand the customer journey? And am I aware that there's no one size fits all customer journey, that you're likely going to have at least 4 to 5 different types of customer journeys. So that's the first question. If you don't understand the customer journey, meaning what are customers really thinking, what challenges or pain points are they going through, what channels they use to communicate, and what essentially needs or values do they have before interacting with a brand like yours, during the process of engaging with your brand or product, and post. So I think if you don't understand that customer journey, you're likely going to be shooting a little bit in the blind, and you're going to learn things as you go. So it's important to do that assessment, and that could be done fairly at a low cost. You don't necessarily need a large statistical significant sample size to have at least some signals. You can do it with a small cohort of 20 customers qualitatively. That would at least help you sort of identify all the gaps in that journey that your product can fill in, or that you eventually will be able to with a product roadmap that you have, that you will plan out. So I think that's the first question. Do I really understand the journey and all the steps in that journey from the customers you're trying to attract? The second question is, of course, the typical product marketing question: what is unique and differentiating about what I have to offer? And let me clarify, because unique and differentiating are two different things. People often think they're the same thing. Unique means it's something that only you offer, that no one else offers. And differentiating means you may also offer something that a competitor offers, but it is adding more value. So you're not necessarily unique, but it adds more value, therefore distinguishes you from others, right? Basic example, Apple is a cell phone provider. It creates smart devices. They're not unique, but they have a unique set of differentiating features. So you need to identify those things. You need to build out that matrix. On one side, unique, and the other side, so one axis unique and the other axis differentiating. And then you also want to map out the things that sit on the top right corner that are the most unique and also add the most value to your customers. I think once you do that, and then you have the customer journey map, then you can really craft your value proposition. You can really craft your narrative, and you can then create a campaign that sort of stands out because of its unique and differentiating capabilities.
I really, really like the way that you put that, especially because you're right. So many people say unique and differentiated in the same thing. And I've definitely been a victim of doing that before myself too. But it's nice to see, like, I completely understand the difference of what you're saying and how to talk about that. And actually, one example that comes to mind that I really, really like is with Shopify, actually, because the other day, my friend and I, we were buying a gift for one of our friends. And what was really interesting is that she shipped it to my house because of location and whatever, but she was the one who purchased it. Now, when she emailed it to me, like the order tracking and everything to follow along on where the shipment was, because of Shopify's seamless integration with their Shop Pay, their Shop app, and Shopify itself, when she emailed me the tracking order, it automatically showed up on my Shop app and said, don't worry, we've got all the tracking details for you here. And it was literally a one-click thing to go from her sending it to me being able to track my shipment. And it was jewelry. So obviously it's a sensitive product where I'm very particular about making sure that I'm there and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I'm thinking, wow, I'm definitely going to continue shopping with brands that are under here. It's just so effortless. It's so seamless. I don't have to worry. It's so much nicer. And Shopify is an e-commerce platform, not really unique from all the other ones out there, but differentiated in the way that it's so seamless for the experience. And I think they must have followed in your footsteps for finding out what really is important for customers, right? Because that one little thing allowed me to say, okay, I should definitely think about doing more things that are under the Shop Pay category of brands, because it was just a nicer experience altogether. So I really like that. And then I'm curious from your point of view, even just like a fun little question, but for you as a consumer, is there any brands that you've had an interesting experience where you think they've done it really well on their sentiment or their branding or their positioning that is differentiated for you as a consumer?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few brands. I'm no longer an actual Tesla owner, but I was one of the first ones. And
Cool.
I have to say, they really cater to a unique customer journey experience. The best marketer for Tesla was an actual driver. We would brag about our experience driving a Tesla to other non-Tesla drivers. So a bunch of free marketing we're giving to Tesla. And I remember it just because of the little things. I'll give you a very simple example. When I used to own the Model 3, this was back in 2018. And one time my garage slicker stopped functioning and I knew I'm gonna have to get another one. Now I can no longer open the garage door. That very same day, I'm not kidding, the very same day, there was a software through the internet update to the car that enabled me to connect my car to the garage and essentially open up the garage and close the garage automatically. And I was like, this is just beautiful. Like I had a clear need, a clear problem. And on the same day, coincidentally, there was a software update that addressed that. I didn't even have to buy a lighter. I started using only the car to open and close the garage door. And these are the little things that they've done. I have never had a car before that actually appreciated over time. Any car, the moment you buy it, starts losing value. And it becomes obsolete with 1 to 2 years in terms of technology. Yet they developed a mechanism where the car actually becomes better and smarter over the years that you own it. By the time I sold my car, it was 5x better than when I first got it because it could do so many new things that it couldn't do when I first got it. And I think that is really thinking about the customer journey, knowing that every time a customer buys a car, that if they need to update the software, they have to take it to the dealership. It's a pain. They have to take time off to do that. They know that the car will become obsolete with newer models come out. And also that the cars are not quite smart. They just were very, very much like all about the engine and not about the UI and UX experience. So they really thought about that and completely redesigned the relationship of a customer or a driver with a vehicle. And I think that's why they became so popular. And now everyone copies Tesla. Now everyone does software over the years. And everyone has this massive screens on their cars. And again, Tesla came up with that to say, can we bring technology into a driving experience? And I think to me, that is a brand that really thought about the customer experience, put the customer first, and then created an entire ecosystem similar to what Apple did, where once you're in the Tesla ecosystem with the superchargers, the software updates, it's really hard for you to leave and go somewhere else. And so they did that really well. It was hard for me to do it, to leave actually. But I didn't have a need for another car at the time. So I just gave up my car, but that's the only reason. I actually was quite happy with my experience.
That's awesome. And I think also a really great place for us to bring our conversation to a close is ending on an example like that, because what I find most interesting is when leaders like yourself, you've lived the experience of doing this kind of thing for your customers. I always like to hear what your experience is as a customer, because it tells me a lot about how you think about things and you come to appreciate these things more. So I really love that example. Now, before I let you go, we just have a couple fun questions. We call it the lightning round, just fun things on your opinion. And then we end on a piece of advice and we are on our way. So lightning round question number 1. What film do you think has some of the best marketing of all time?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't admit that Barbie probably had some of the best. It's not the one that comes first to mind, but it's the most recent one that I've seen where they really excelled in everything they've done in their partnerships with Airbnb to create the Barbie house. So it was really, really well done. I mean, I think they spent probably as much on marketing as they spent on producing the film. But it was really well done. But I would say the one that stuck with me was when I was younger and I was in high school, and you are a little bit more susceptible to what's on TV, and there was no social media at the time. And this horror movie, the Blair Witch Project, came out.
Yes.
And I remember we all thought it was real. We all talked about it. Like they found these footage in the woods, and it's sort of this full documentary style, but we didn't know it was full documentary. We thought it was a real documentary. The entire marketing was convincing people that what you're about to see is authentic and real, so that you can fully immerse yourself in the experience, which was a first-person video recording of the actual person recording it. And I remember watching the film and coming out and feeling really scared yet captivated by the entire experience. And we couldn't stop talking about it for weeks and weeks until eventually, it was made clear on TV that this was all scripted, that this was not a real footage. But I remember the marketing was really clever. And I remember no one really thought this was not real. And I think what I take from it is not that you should deceive your audience. I don't think that's right. I think in this case, fiction, it is the intent to deceive you a little bit so you can really feel fully immersed in the experience. Otherwise, if you come in thinking this is all fake, I'm just going to laugh
Not
about
that
it.
great. Yeah.
But it's that emotional connection. So in this case, it was about creating a sense of fear and angst, but at the same time, curiosity. Like this is scaring me a little bit, but I'm curious. I need to see it. I need to go watch it. So it's tapping into the psychology of your audience, building that connection. So I think they've done that really well. And I haven't seen any other film since then that actually came out and made you feel like, oh my God, I need to see this because this is going to really, it's groundbreaking. But of course, Barbie did a tremendous success in the marketing campaign as well. And it's probably one of the best use cases for how to do marketing really well.
I also like that, two very polar opposite examples, but
Yeah.
they all tell the same story.
One very low budget, one very high budget. And
Yes.
it's a good example maybe of a corporation versus a startup.
Actually, that's a good point.
The Blair
I like
Witch
that.
Project was a really low budget film and low budget marketing. And yet, look at the tremendous impact they had back then.
Exactly. Oh, awesome. Okay. Second lightning round question is, if you were stuck on a desert island, who in the marketing industry would you want to be stuck there with? And what item would you take with you? Ooh, that's a hard one.
Okay. I would say desert island. So I probably will assume I'm going to be there stuck for a few days. I want someone energetic and someone fun to hang out with, that it can be resourceful. I would say Gary Vaynerchuk is probably...
Nice. Actually, when you said energetic, that actually was the first name that came to my mind. I was like, I wonder if that's just Gary Vee.
That's his brand, right? That's his brand. And that he's definitely going to be someone exciting to be around with, going to push you to think creatively about innovative ways to get off the island, I'm assuming. But an item that I would bring with me, and this is probably cheating, but maybe a satellite phone so that we can not only call for rescue, but at the same time, maybe we can create a podcast together off the island and we can create a fun, quote unquote, documentary of our experience on the island.
I think Gary Vee would love that. I was going to say, when you guys get back, you guys would turn into an enterprising business, I'm sure. So you are already 10 steps ahead, doing it while you're on the island. Well done.
There you go. So that would be fun.
Awesome. Okay. I like that. And last but not least, just to close us out for the day is there a piece of life advice that someone shared with you once that has always stayed with you?
Yes. And it's a piece of advice that I've only started to value as I got older. Today, I'm a father of two and very small kids. One is 3 years old, one is 10 months old. And this advice really resonates more and more with me now that I'm a father than when I was in my early 20s, single and exploring the world. And the advice was, you never truly understand the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And it's about being present, right? It's about celebrating the little wins and not just constantly be obsessed with the future or hung up on the past. And so what it means to me now, and I see it clearly more and more, is it feels like we're currently always sprinting towards the next thing. We finished the campaign and we're already thinking about the next campaign. You just got a promotion, but you're already thinking about your next promotion. You just got, I don't know, you just bought a car, but you're already thinking about what else can you buy. So it's like we're never savoring the moment. We're never really living and celebrating the little wins. You finish a campaign, you were successful, celebrate. Whatever is to come will come. And it's kind of outside of your control anyway. You don't know when the future will come or what it will bring you. And whatever happened in the past, it's done. So don't worry about what people are thinking about you, how you did in that meeting, what you could have done differently. It's okay to learn from it, but it's not okay to stay hung up on it. So I think it's really special because one day you're going to be old and a lot of people will not remember, I would say majority of people will not remember that you worked late or that you failed on that particular meeting, only you will. And it's not really energy well spent. So instead, value the little things, the interactions you have with people, with family, celebrate the little wins. If you get a compliment, really make that compliment feel like a victory. Because those are the things that you want to create memories. And one day when you're old enough, you're going to look back and remember those days. And so that to me is the one piece of advice that I feel more and more today.
I absolutely love that. And certainly of the same mentality, because you realize that these moments come and go, right? Like you need to savor them in the moment and cherish that. But aside from all the wonderful insights you've shared in the episode today, that is probably one of my favorite moments, because I love when we end on pieces of life advice and it's just, you hear people with lived experiences and what their view is. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. And also thank you for everything on the episode today. I know a lot of people will find a lot of value in all the things that you shared, and I'm sure they'll put it right to use right away. So thank you very much for joining me on the show today. It was a pleasure to have you.
It was my pleasure as well. Thank you so much.